Kia ora and welcome everyone to a very special episode of Big Life Mindset. If you're a mum, nana, auntie, sister, wife, or even a friend to one of these people, then this episode is for you. Today, you'll meet Dr. Monica Sani from Breast Institute New Zealand, and we're going to talk about women's health, some very practical things you can do, especially from a support person's perspective, and I even go through the process of having a mammogram done myself. All right, folks, let's go. Cool. Kia ora and welcome everybody to a special episode of Big Life Mindset, where today I'm joined by Dr. Monica Sani. Good morning.
Good morning. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Awesome. So I think let's start off. Who is Monica Sani?
It's hard to question, when people ask you that, suddenly you get nervous and, but no, let's talk serious. I'm just a working mom. Mm-hmm. I am from the U.S. originally, born and raised, moved here about 5 years ago. And I've got two kids who are 11 and 8, a wonderful partner. And I am a breast cancer specialist. So one of the reasons we moved to New Zealand 5 years ago was to have a different life.
Cool.
We wanted to have work-life balance. We live near the beach. I'm a water person. I want to be in the water. It's a little hard in the middle of winter, but I'm trying to brave and get out there and be really brave. But my passion really is women's health.
Cool.
And I said, I really want to understand. I want to hack breast cancer. And one of the things that's really close to my heart is that when we take a mammogram, there is a thing called breast density. And that's basically the ratio of fatty tissue to normal fibrous tissue in the breast. And what's so cool about this is that each woman has their unique fingerprint, if you will, or biomarker, we call it, in the breast. So when you look on an X-ray of the breast, which is a mammogram, she'll have her own unique pattern of what that tissue looks like on the inside. It's like a snowflake. Everyone's unique. And in that information tells me what kind of genetics she's inherited from mom and dad. It tells me a bit about her environment. It tells me a bit of if she's had children or not. And there is all of this wonderful information in there. And if we understand that better, I think that is the key to being able to prevent breast cancer.
Biomarkers and snowflakes. It's a good analogy. Off air, you talked about the challenges many women face in even getting to a screening, a lot of which comes down to them sacrificing their needs, or at least not prioritizing themselves enough. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
They sacrifice themselves for the betterment of their family, their partner, their children, their parents, any of that stuff. And as a partner, what you can do is say, but you're a priority too. And I think women just need someone to help them give themselves permission that it's okay that I'm going to take time to go and schedule this test that is going to be about my health and well-being. And actually what she needs to reframe it is her being healthy and having good well-being means she can take care of her family better.
Nice.
And I think as a partner coming in, what you can say is, honey, you need to do this for you, and it's okay that it takes time to do it. And then sometimes it's the overwhelm for women of then, okay, where do I need to go? How do I need to schedule this? And those of you who are very, a little bit better about like Googling and finding out where to go, and I think a lot of partners, men especially, can be really adept of like, let me just figure out where I need to go. And sometimes it's just giving her, hey, look, I looked this up. I Googled. Here are the places you can go. Here's where you need to sign up if we're going to do this through public breast screen. Let's do it now. And I think then it makes it easier for the woman to say, you're right. You're telling me I need to prioritize myself. You're right. And then the thing women often carry is guilt. There's so much guilt. If there's one thing I wish I could do for women is for us to just lift that guilt, like take it out of our bodies, exercise it out, and just be like, let it go. Just put it out there in the stars and let it go and let it become something positive.
Yeah.
Because there's so much guilt. There's so much guilt of, I didn't get this done. I haven't been able to do this for my kid. I haven't been able to do this for me. There's so much guilt. Guilt also transforms into stress. And that's the one thing for your health, no matter what you're looking at, whether we're talking about breast health, but if you think about heart health, bone health, any type of health, reducing stress is the best thing you can do for everything.
Nice.
And it's great for the mental health of your entire family. If you're not stressed, you're more likely to be patient in a much calmer state.
Yeah,
and that's an example of everything in life.
Nice.
So I think as a partner, it's a time for you to tell the woman in your life, let's take some time and do this. And also and if she's resisting, if you're helping here and saying, let me find the place for you, let's schedule it, but she's still resisting, then there may be an element of anxiety and fear there. And then you have to be the best partner of listening and saying, what's on your mind? You seem to hesitate. You said you needed to do this, and I noticed that you're hesitating. What are you worried about?
Do you find that for some people that the hesitancy to even reach out is a barrier to them coming through the door?
Absolutely. 100%. I think there are a lot of women who know that they're over 40 and that they should get a screening mammogram, and their GP has talked to them about it. They've had friends who've said, oh yeah, I'm doing this. And there's the fear of, if I go in and get this mammogram, they're going to find something. And then I'm going to have to deal with what I'm anticipating to be devastating news. When the reality is, most women who come through, everything's going to be normal. So if we could somehow collectively reset our mindset and say, look, this is like getting your bloods tested and looking at your cholesterol, which you do every couple of years, right? If this is just a wellness check rather than a cancer check, if we could just reset and go, they're not going to find anything. And if they do, I'm going to, we'll deal with that when that comes, should that even come. So if we could readjust that, then I think so much of the fear would be diminished. You'd be surprised. I would say so many patients I see coming in after they had their mammogram, they come and sit with me in the office because we give the results to them right away. And I think that's the other part, is the results, the waiting.
Yeah.
And that's
the
really,
anticipation.
Yes, the anticipation. I always tell people, anticipation is worse than the experience. So
must be too.
Yeah. And so after they get, the first timers get their mammogram done, you can see the wave of relief. Like, oh, that wasn't actually that bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, oh, everyone told me this is going to hurt. This is going to be so much more painful. I was so worried. I thought I was going to be so naked, but I wasn't. I was wearing this nice long robe and, all these things that we tried to kind of really prioritize at the Breast Institute. And then they come into my room, and I have changed how I talk to patients. Normally, when a patient comes into my office and I'm going to give the results, I used to always start with, I'm Dr. Monica Sani, I'm the radiologist, and then I would launch into, let's talk about your exam today. And I'd say, look, everything's fine. I've reshifted to that too. I have them come in and I say, the most important thing I can tell you today is that you're fine.
Wow.
And I don't even introduce myself. I just say, you're fine.
Yeah.
And then you just see them relax in the chair. And it's so great to just see, thank goodness.
Because that's the bit that they're looking for and
That's
listening
the bit.
for, right? Like
Yeah.
all the rest of it is almost like that. I think
They can't hear
like
it.
the Homer Simpson moment where
Yeah,
it's like, blah,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Just tell me the bit.
Yes.
I need this bit.
I just need to know I'm okay. So
Yeah,
I just start with, you're okay.
Okay.
And then I go, by the way, I'm Monica Sani, I'm your doctor.
Nice.
And they go, oh, okay, great. Yeah, great, man. And then they can be like, they can focus. And then we go through a bit of, well, you've gone through the effort of taking these beautiful pictures. Let's talk about what you look like on the inside. And then we just have a conversation and we do a little bit of teaching. But so I think as a partner, there's two ways you can support. One is to reinforce for the woman in your life, give yourself permission for self-care.
Cool.
and supporting her that. If she's hesitating, she is feeling anxious. So trying to create an environment where she can talk about what is she afraid of. And if she's afraid, and you've listened to this wonderful podcast, what you can reassure her is most women coming through are not going to have breast cancer. So if you look at the statistics from Breast Cancer New Zealand Foundation, 1 in 9 women in New Zealand will develop breast cancer over their lifetime. But let's flip that. Everyone focuses on who's going to get the C word, cancer.
Right.
The reality is 8 out of 9 of us are not going to have breast cancer. So you might know someone who's had it, a family member, a friend, might be very present in your current sphere. And that's, we never want people to go through that, but it happens. But most of us will not get cancer. So this is a wellness check. So you can give that information of, look, actually, here's some good information for you. 8 out of 9 women are not going to get breast cancer. This is a wellness check. So you could sometimes support it instead of just it being an opinion. We can use some facts here to help a woman feel less anxious. And then it's helping a woman feel less guilty about taking time.
Okay, and so you've talked a wee bit about a great scenario looks like, a person comes in, they're waiting for this news. You're all good. The first words, I love that. I love how you have changed up the sequencing of a conversation so that you start with the bit that they're really listening for.
They really need to hear it.
Yeah, and then you kind of, and by the way, I'm Dr. Monica saying, I love that. And then what does a conversation feel like where that's not the case, where it might have further investigation required? What does that sound like?
So I think a lot of women who are probably listening to your podcast, we should probably talk about there's different ways to get testing done. So if you're getting a screening mammogram at 45, you can register with BSA. There's an 0800 number you can call to enroll. Okay. So that's one option, and it's free, and it's every 2 years. And what a gift in New Zealand. And I come from the States originally to have free public care. It's fantastic. There's also private options. And as people might be aware, there is a bit of a backlog in public breast screen depending on the region you live in.
Right.
And so for some women, private is a nice option to consider, because if they finally decide, okay, I'm going to do this, and there is a bit of a wait, like when you finally get the courage to do something and you go, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then you can't get it done.
Yeah.
And then your courage dwindles, and then the anxiety comes back in. So sometimes that's an option to consider paying, self-funding, or if you have insurance, going down that route, so that you can say, I want to get this done, and I want this experience done with, and I want to move on with my life. And I want to get back to my life. But to the scenario you're talking about, so what if the news is not good news? If you're going through public breast screen, then you'll get a screening mammogram and you'll leave. And you'll get a letter 2 weeks later or so saying, hey, everything was normal. If things weren't normal, you'll get a phone call from the nurse from that DHB and explaining, hey, this is what's going on. We need you to come back, and we need to take a few more pictures. Now, if you are in that scenario where you've been called back to come and get a few more images, don't panic. Most of the time, it's us doctors trying to get to know you a little bit better. So we just need to see the tissue maybe in a slightly different angle. Just remember that when we put you in the machine, it's almost like when you take a picture of someone. If you take it from the front angle, it looks a certain way. If you take it from the side angle, it looks like a certain way. And if you're not perfectly in the center, things might look a little bit different.
Right.
So if you get a callback, that's what we call them, a callback. Don't panic. It doesn't immediately mean something is wrong.
Okay.
It's a great time, though, for a partner to accompany the woman in their life to that appointment if they can. Now, oftentimes as women, and I am definitely guilty of this, I've had to go to appointments where there was something going on or wrong, and I've told my husband, don't worry, you don't need to take time off. I'll just go by myself. And I can say firsthand from being in that experience, I wish I hadn't done that.
Right.
Because when you're sitting in that waiting room and you already know there's more that's going on, your mind is starting to go dark places.
Yeah.
What if I have cancer? What if there's something wrong? And then as women, we go down this pathway of worry of, if I have cancer, am I going to live? Who's going to take care of my family? These are the things that go through most of our brains. And you don't have to be a woman to experience this. I think there's a human experience in general.
I think it is. I think you're right.
So I think as a partner, maybe even insisting of going with and saying, okay, that's fine. You say you're fine, but I'd really like to come. And it may be just, there might not be much dialogue that's happening in that waiting room because it's a public space. It might be a gentle hand holding that person's hand, a gentle pat on the shoulder, just something that like you're not alone.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that does cross genders or whatever, and
Absolutely.
situations where if you just having the presence of somebody beside you, that comfort that comes with that just helps make that situation, I would imagine, more manageable. Coming back to a point that you raised, I would imagine a lot of people are very binary. I have cancer, I don't have cancer.
That's right.
And as soon as they that callback process starts, it is very easy for your brain to just run away with
That's
this
right.
thing, and then run away with it inside your own head as well.
That's right.
Which I think I'm certainly guilty of. So knowing that there is a touch point there where a support person like myself can go in there, and even if we're just sitting in the waiting room with the person, it's not just sitting in the waiting room.
No,
it's
not.
providing that comfort and support that comes with that.
And I would say as a partner, it's a good time where you need to keep your anxiety in check because you're going to be anxious too.
Right.
She's been called in. You're probably thinking in your head, what if this is something? You're probably also adjusting. What does this mean for us? This is a time where you need to prioritize her.
Right.
So you need to be calm. You need to put your fear to the side. Let's see if there's even something here to talk about. So I think that's a huge way that you can provide support and just keep reassuring her. Let's just see, let's see what there is here. And if there's something, we're going to address this together.
Nice.
So if you're in that situation, you get called back and you're going through public breast screen, and this will vary region to region. Typically what will happen is we will do the additional testing. If we find something that still persists on the additional testing, you may need a biopsy. And that's a fancy way of saying we need to get a little tissue sample. And we do that in the office. It's not under surgery. And we need to decide 100% what is this little thing that we're seeing or this change. Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes that's done on the day. Sometimes you have to come back on a different day. At the Breast Institute, we're a private center. So what we try to do is we do everything on one day. So when you come in for your screening mammogram, if you need something additional, we're going to do it right away, like an ultrasound. If you need a biopsy, we go through the options if you want to do it the same day or if you want to go a different pathway, just to shorten that amount of time. So all the results are at once. But you can see in different places, you might have different ways of getting things done, especially in the region you're living in. Mm-hmm. But it's good for a partner to know this is the pathway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's say you get to the point you now need a sampling. And a sampling is something we do in the office. It's just under local anesthetic, which means it doesn't affect your mind or anything else. It's much like going to the dentist's office. And I'm sorry to give that comparison because most of us don't look like forward to going to the dentist's office. But it's the same type of numbing medicine that you get going to a dentist as you do for this procedure.
It's straightforward stuff.
Very straightforward stuff. It actually takes longer to sign paperwork to get everything all set up than it does to do the procedure. The procedure probably takes less than 5 minutes. It takes longer to put your name in the system. We will give you lots of numbing medicine first. Mm-hmm. Then we go in with a little needle. We take some samples. You're done. Then the results take anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks. Again, it's usually actually dependent on the COVID backlog that's affecting the labs. So once those results are in, you will have an appointment with another breast specialist like a surgeon, and that woman and yourself, the woman in your life, will come in, and then they'll go through and say, okay, it's normal. Turns out it's all okay. And you can just go back to screening and all's good. Mm-hmm. Or there's cancer. And I think that's what you're alluding to. What happens if we go down that pathway, there's cancer? So in that situation, that's how we'd find out 100% there's cancer, what type, and then the specialist will go through, here are our next steps. We want to remove this cancer, so this may involve surgery. We might have a couple of additional tests where we need to look elsewhere just to see how everything in the body is operating and just make sure this cancer is contained only in the breast. And then there may be the possibility of meeting an oncologist to talk about either radiation therapy or chemotherapy. The things that are important for people to know is if we catch breast cancer early, meaning it's small, and that's what we call stage 1 breast cancer. It's really small, probably too small for a woman to feel. And that's why the screening mammogram is so important. I'm looking for things that are 1 or 2 millimeters in size. Whereas when you need to feel something, you're looking for a marble, 25 millimeters. That's how big it is before someone can often feel something in their breast. But if we catch it early, the cure rate is 92%.
Well, that's an astronomical number when you think about it.
Oh my God. And I feel like we need to say it again. 92%.
That's
cure
huge.
rate.
Okay.
So we're going to reframe breast cancer in the next decade. Yes, we're using the C word. It's cancer, but it's going to become breast disease. And that means if we're catching it early, we're going to cure it. You're going to go on with your life. And I always say it's a crap chapter, but a very long book. Okay. And if you can keep that in mind, then it helps you to look, okay, this is just a short period of time of my life, but there's a long book there.
Nice.
There's many days ahead of me of things I'm going to do.
I like the analogy. And just quickly recovering so that some of the scale of the challenge that's being faced is, my limited understanding is based on the numbers that are coming out of a backlog of 50,000. Now, is it screenings or is it women or is it?
So that's a good point. We should make a differentiation. So for some women, they have no symptoms. They're not feeling anything. They don't have any issues. And they're just coming in for what we'd call a routine mammogram. They're just getting their check. Then there are people who actually have an issue. So they're noticing a lump, or they have some liquid or discharge coming out of the nipple, or there's a change in the skin. That's a different category of women, and those women are addressed immediately or as quickly as possible.
Okay.
So you're in a different queue and you get prioritized, and you'll be seen usually much sooner than in the screening, which is sort of scheduled out. Okay. So the 50,000, that relates to the women who are not having any symptoms and just need to get their regular check. That's where the delay is. That varies region to region. Some regions have no delay. So it will vary upon your breast screen provider. And that is in public.
So that's geographical region, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yep. And so that also is in the public breast screening system. In private, we are not that far behind. And a lot of private providers, ourselves included, at different points have helped breast screen try to offload and get some of those exams done, the women in, so that we can catch up. So not every region is that far behind.
Okay.
And that's where some patients may decide that if they're having a wait, they might opt to self-fund and go pay for a mammogram in private. I think whatever you do, just get your mammogram.
Nice.
However you want to do it.
Nice. I like that. It's a really nice approach.
So tell me about the Breast Institute New Zealand experience.
So this experience here, what I've set up, a lot of what people will see and feel is myself. I've decorated it the way I would decorate my home. You know, I love green. There's no pink here. I'm not a pink girl. And so I want it to be soft and warm and comforting. And so we spent a lot of time thinking about even the robe you wear. We tried 5 prototypes and I was like, no, that's too thin. I'm cold and I hate being cold. And I'm sure a lot of women can relate to that.
Very cool. And so kind of a very nice segue actually. And so we're going to go through a mammogram process. Is that right?
That's right. That's right.
Cool. And so this is going to not be tailored, I guess, in any way because obviously I'm a male, really so that I could hopefully shed some light on what the experience might look and feel like, and ideally provide a window for support people so that they understand, so that men who are coming along and supporting their significant person that's coming through have a little bit of an understanding so they can help lower those apprehension levels as well. So shall we do it?
Yes, let's do it.
Fabulous. Great. Okay, so we're fresh out of the, what do you call it? There's the mammogram room, is it?
That's right. That's
cool.
Exactly right.
Where I've just gone through that experience, all of 5 minutes and 20 seconds, and I'm absolutely staggered at how fast that was, or how efficient that was. I shouldn't just say fast, because I felt like every base got covered, but in a way that I didn't feel rushed at all. I felt like it was methodical. I felt like I was in very good hands. So thank you very much for that. In terms of what can a person do next? So what can a listener do from here?
So if you're looking for more information, one great place is you can come to our website, which is basically mammogram.co.nz. And on there, we have descriptions of what are mammograms, what are ultrasounds. If you want to book an appointment, you can do that through us, and we're a private center. You can also give us a ring at 0800 848-844. We love questions. So if you're not sure, based on how old you are, what you need, just give us a ring. We're happy to answer questions and point you in the right direction.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Monica. I really appreciate you having me today. I felt like I've learned a lot, and hopefully for the listeners out there, I've also shone a bit of a light on something that's a little bit unknown for many people, particularly significant others, the partners, and all of this. There's a role that we can play, and hopefully this will help join those dots for everybody, and we can do this journey together. Once again, my thanks to you.
And my thanks to you for giving a different perspective. It's so great to hear it from a different lens. So thank you so much.
All good. All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
And that's a wrap on that one. I'll add a video to the actual mammogram itself into my show notes. Once again, my thanks to the Breast Institute New Zealand for accommodating me and helping me go through that process. 3 key things to take away for support people. One is to help your significant other, that significant person in your life, to give themselves permission for self-care. The second thing you can do is to let them know that they're not alone. You can be there, even if you can't be there physically, just let them know that you're there for them. And last, but certainly by no means least, is to listen. Listen to the concerns that they might have, listen to the apprehension that might be there, and help them work their way through that. Awesome. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. As always, please click like, follow, subscribe, and all the rest, and share this with someone in your networks. And as I always love to say, be uncomfortable and grow.